When it comes to using a Moodle, I go back to the early days when I first started using one. It must have been somewhere around 2003, 2004. I was just beginning my doctoral studies at the University of Delaware. At the time, I was the tech coordinator and website developer for a school district. I'd used Microsoft FrontPage and Adobe Dreamweaver to build a website in which teachers could post information regarding their class. In those days, teachers would send me batches of unedited photos, and I would spend countless hours editing photos and posting them to the web. We then, for a brief time, moved to using Adobe Contribute so that teachers could post their own pictures and information. That was a nightmare of an experience, especially when I resigned as the webmaster and the superintendent's wife took over designing the site. Of course, I can go on and on about that, but let's move on. In one of the classes at Delaware I was taking, a fellow student mentioned Moodle. I was still the webmaster at the time and kind of half listened to what he said, thinking to myself, I already have a website developed. What do I need Moodle for? As some of you can relate, you tend to get comfortable with what you're familiar with and ignore other ideas. At the same time, I was curious about this, and I was thinking about what my focus would be on my doctoral studies. The concern I had was with the movement towards having technology available in the classroom. I felt teachers were using technology more than integrating technology. When I began to explore using Moodle, I discovered a way to perhaps better integrate. What you are going to experience in this course is the same process I went through, i.e. learning to set up a Moodle on your local computer. I did the same thing and began to experiment with what I could do with a Moodle. I found it to be a great tool and wondered how our school district might use it. The focus of my doctoral work came a bit more clearer when I began to work with 3 teachers in learning to integrate technology in the classroom using a Moodle. It just so happened our school board office purchased a new computer, and then I took the old one and created a Moodle server. I then started working with the 3 teachers and setting up their Moodle site. As word traveled around the school district, more and more teachers wanted a Moodle site for their classroom. The next thing you know, I was training all the teachers on how to use Moodle. It became such an important part of the district that when the old board server died, the district immediately found the money to purchase a new one. So even this all started over 20 years ago, the power of using Moodle is still evident today. Hopefully in going through these lessons, you'll see the power of Moodle and get excited to begin to use it on a regular basis. So let's begin with setting up a server in Moodle on your computer. Now the first thing you'll need to do is to download Moodle and Wampserver. So we're going to go to moodle.org, as you see here, and we're going to go to the download section. Here we're going to see where the Moodle link is. We're going to click on that, and you'll see that there's different varieties you can get. We're going to do the zip and download that. And we're going to save that to our local computer. The next thing we're going to do is download Wampserver. So I go to SourceForge, and you'll see there's an option to download it, and I click download. And once again, I'm going to save that to my local computer. So here I have the 2 files I downloaded. I'm going to first install WAMP. So I double click on that and I simply click OK. It's going to show me the agreement and I'm going to accept it. And then click next and next. And it's going to tell me where it's going to install it to, and that's fine. Click next. Once it's installed, I'm going to launch Wampserver, and it's going to go through the process of starting up. Once it's started up, I'm going to go to the lower right-hand corner, look for the arrow, and then I'm going to find the WAMP and PhpMyAdmin. Here I'm going to log in. Now by default it's usually the username is root with no password. and I go in, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a database which I'll use for the Moodle setup. So I simply go up to database. I'm going to create the new database here. I'm just going to call it Moodle Tech. And I want to make sure I select the type of database I want. Once I've given a name and coalition, I click create, and now I have my empty database. I now go to privileges, and what I want to do is set up an account that will allow me to have access to this. So I'm going to call it admin. That's going to be admin_user. I'm going to give it tell it it's a local host. I'm then going to put in a password, which I'm going to use to access this database. I'm going to go down to global privileges, and I'm going to select all. That will mean that I'll have access rights to everything related to the database, and that's what I want to do, and I click go. And now it's created that account that I could use when I go to set up the Moodle, because I need to set up the database first before I can install the Moodle. So now that the database is set up, I'm going into the WAMP folder. It's the WAMP64. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new folder where I'm going to install Moodle. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Moodle Tech. I'm going to open that up because that's where I'm going to put that zip file that I had downloaded previously. And I'm just going to drag it over and throw it into the new folder that I created. Next step is I'm going to have to unzip this. So I'm just going to right click on it and choose extract all. It's going to go through the process of unzipping that. It's going to ask me where I want to extract it. I want to extract it there, so I just click extract. It's going to go through the process of extracting that compressed file. What it's now done is it's created another folder inside of that Moodle Tech, and what I want to do is I want to take all those files within that and actually put it into the root directory Moodle Tech. So I'm just going to select them all, and I'm going to simply move them into the main directory. Now this folder I no longer need. It's basically an empty folder, so I could just click on it and then go up to the little trash can and delete it, just to do a little housekeeping. Okay, I'm just about ready to install the Moodle. I just want to double check to make sure I remember two things. One, what database I'm using, and who the user is that I'm going to be able to log into that database to set it up in conjunction with the Moodle. While doing this, I'll kind of walk you through the steps. Here I click next. By default, it already knows where the information is going to go into. I click next. It's going to ask me what type of database I'm using. I have several choices. I'm going to leave the default at MySQL and click next. Here's where that information from the database is important, because I need to tell it what the database name is, and I need to tell it who the user is. And I got that information from the admin, PhpMyAdmin, and I'm going to put in the information. and click Next. It's going to ask me if I'm ready, and I'm going to click Continue. And it's going to check everything to make sure the server has all the necessary extensions that it needs to run the Moodle locally. So it looks like it's okay, so I'm going to click Continue. It's going to go through, install everything, and once it gets done, I click Continue again. It's going to then ask me to set up a user for the Moodle. So I could set up a similar situation that I did with the database, and I could put in a username, password, and here I'm putting in my real name, and I'll put in my email address. I can make my email visible to everyone if I want. That's the default, so I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to put in where I'm located, what country I'm in. I'm going to leave it because my time zone is New York time zone, and I'm going to update the profile. It's then going to ask me for a name for the Moodle site. So here I'm just going to call it Demo Site. I can give it a short name. Here I'm just going to do DS and give it a little bit of a summary of the site. Once again, I'm going to leave it at New York. I'm going to click Save and Continue. It's going to ask me for a support contact. So I'm just going to give it an email address of support. And save changes. And there I have it. Voila, my Moodle set up.